10 tips and tricks for Armored Core 6, everyone. So, hello everyone, Maddening here. I would say you can look at this video as like a beginner's guide to some extent, right? Like how should you spec in the game to some extent, how should you fight in the game, right? How should you think about approaching bosses and so on. So I will go over some of my, general tips and advice. But first I have a question for you guys. Where do you think this game lies in like difficulty curve compared to Elden Ring and Sekiro? But I definitely play this game very similar to how I play Sekiro, and I explain how, like, and I think it helps me a lot in this game because, yeah, like my Sekiro approach basically is how I feel I've beaten a lot of bosses in this game. That being said, it's hard to talk and play in this game. I feel honestly, though. It's kind of intense. But anyway, hope you like the video. Please subscribe, press the like button, and I get into the top 10 tips and tricks in Armored Core 6. So my first tip for this game, guys, is changing your build up, your assembly, right? So I don't know how you guys play it, but as I play this game, I definitely had in mindset of like, I'm going into a stage, right? I have this machine gun and this thing and these parts of weapon, and I just kept playing with that until I beat this stage like that, right? But I think in this game, what I learned the most, honestly, probably at first, is to really change a lot. Yeah, really change your items all the time, right? So come on, early builds. Change the lore, maybe I should have this thing instead, maybe I should have melee, whatever. You get my point, right? Yeah, changing your spec is a huge thing in this game, I feel. Every time I die in a boss, sure, certainly some parts, it's like you have to learn the boss, whatever, right? Which I avoid and so on. But on most bosses, I feel it's more like, oh, this guy got like a shield in the front, okay, but then this like homing missile, terrible because it hits him in the middle. Oh, this boss got like an energy thing, okay, I need to have an empty energy, right? So it is a lot about like counter picking, I guess, we call it counter building, right? And as soon as I started to basically assume immediately, basically a point is that if I die on a boss, right, I get a boss and I die there, then I will almost always immediately start, making around, going in here, maybe loading some of my other builds, right? And like trying to be like, okay, but what should I actually be, right? And I think that's like a mess. I don't think you need to have like a specific build or specific weapon or whatever exactly for one boss zone, but it's more like I already say in the opposite order, right? It's like this weapon here, maybe the railgun is terrible against this boss, right? Maybe the missile launcher, that's like a homing thing, that is terrible against the boss with like a one-side shield thing. So it's more like that, I think. When it's pretty easy, I think, to quickly realize, okay, this boss here, I have to change weapons because they are terrible. So I don't know, that means the first point. You should really change almost immediately if you die. So my 8th point for tip in this video would be that I usually think that melee is much better than everything else. Like seriously, yeah. Almost every time when I died on a boss, it don't have melee on me. Yeah, melee is so much more effective. Not on every boss, but I really recommend you to not remove melee. And when it comes to building your mecha, whatever, right? I would say that you should upgrade your melee weapon. The first thing you can do. It's probably the most important thing, and like straight up, because it's so much more effective and you can have the stronger melee weapon. And still, I want to put one thing out as pause to talk about melee and ranged one, is that most stages, right? When you're traversing through a stage, there I feel that melee is really terrible. Not always, but many fights. But once you get to a boss fight or in the arena, then right, like a one-on-one fight, melee is so much better, yeah. So usually what I do is that I won't have melee on my mech, right? Like during again the stage. But if I get the boss fight and I die, then I will change, right? Or if I do the arena and so on, then I will change, yeah. So that's kind of how I look at melee and range. Honestly, I think like over like 9 out of 10 bosses, melee is the key to go. And let's talk about the general battle part, how I think about battle in this. So when you're fighting in this game, I think it's very important to think about the meter in the top analysis and balance, right? Think about like a balance meter like in Sekiro. So I think about it. Because the way I think about it, like seriously, yeah, it is almost like that Sekiro. I'm looking at it as like, oh, when I break that thing, then the enemy can't move, right? Then I can do my finisher. I really do play this game a lot like I play Sekiro. I think it's easier to Sekiro, definitely, but it's very similar, right? So instead of looking at the health meter, I'm looking a lot at that, like, let's call it the balance meter, right? The energy meter. Look at this fight now, right? So, I hit him here, and now I go close, because see the meter's going up him. Bam, there we go. Melee. Bam, he's dead, look at that, that's perfect. That was perfect, yeah. That's what I mean, right, Because I look at the meter, right? When I see that the meter is getting close to being filled, right? Then I go close to him, right? And then I short up my melee, and I can finish him, right? So I think that's a lot how I play the game. I really do feel I play the game like a Sekiro. Also about the balance meter, when to time it, and all the stuff you can think about too, right? Is that you can like save up stuff, right? Because you can reload and you can have different cooldowns. When the shield go down, will the shield go down at the same time? These things and so on. But either when the shield goes down or when the energy goes down, right? So you can't move anymore. That's when you wanna again outload everything. Usually your melee charge, right? Which I typically prefer to use. But if you don't have that, you still want to have everything loaded up and ready, right? So you just blast at everything you have. But anything kind of the timing. So I think it's very important in this game too, because then you can really maximize your DPS. The most important point I want to make though, and this is really how I feel all these games are played, so this is the best part of the video in my opinion, is that when I play these games, it's for Sekiro, you know, Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Neo, whatever, right? Any kind of similar game. I have, you know, Neo 2 here in front of me, right? Whatever, right? When I play all these games, and this is what I really bring up here, right? My concept is to be incredibly aggressive in the beginning of the fight. What I mean with that is that when you play this game, right? It's a hard game. It's not the hardest game ever, it's pretty hard. And I always have this strategy. If you go look at my Elden Ring playthrough, right? That I play super aggressive in the beginning. If you die, basically, you die quick, right? So if you've ever seen when I played Elden Ring, I did the last boss in Elden Ring, yeah, I played incredibly aggressively. It's up on my channel, a link below, whatever. And, you know, because if I fail, then I can just redo it, right? And if I don't fail, then I win. That's like much better. I think a lot of people play it in the wrong way, where they play very, how to say it, they play very defensively, right? They play very, you know, they want to avoid stuff or whatever. They want to go around that, but I think it's opposite way. I always say that, right? Either you die really quickly, or you win, right? So for example, when I played, I guess, Owl in Sekiro, second Owl fight, that fight, for example, I can do basically getting into phase 2 almost immediately, right? So my fights are very quick, right? Because I go in there, full DPS, I focus pure on DPS, right? And then if I fail, again, then we restart. If I don't fail, then I have a great start, right? I think a lot of people do the opposite, which is I say always the wrong thing in Elden Ring or whatever it's done, right? That you first play quite, how say it, reserved, conservative, right? You play kind of keeping a distance, defensively, I suppose, right? And then when they have like, oh, now their boss is weak, now I blast everything and I hope I defeat it. No. You should do the opposit, right? You should maximize DPS, maximize your speed, so to speak, and then, you know, if you fail again, we should restart, right? Because I played opposite way, and what happens if I have that start, right, and then when I have the boss down and say 10% health or whatever, right, and I'm out of potions or whatever you have in the game, you know, elixir, yeah, and I'm out of healing stuff, now I'm gonna play more, you know, defensively and more reserved, right, because now I know that I can probably beat the boss by just shooting a few, you know, stuff from the distance or whatever, right? So I always, yeah, I think it's heavily recommended in these kind of games. Seriously, you want to be super aggressive the first, you know, whatever, right? And then play defensively. And I'm going here, guys, because I want to talk about what I call moving the boss location. Okay? So what I mean here is that I think a lot of people, they will meet up a boss, right? Then they will stay where the boss is. I think that's not very effective, right? Because depending on the spec the boss has, if you can move the boss to another location, it might be way easier actually. Right? So Sula here is like an early mech duel fight you have, which is not that super, pretty mediocre hard fight or whatever you call it. But anyway, I find this boss, right, much easier to fight him in the water versus fighting him at the pillars when he starts that. But he's like a fast guy, so you can, if you fight him on top of the water basically, right, there's no stuff there, right? Yeah. So let me show what I mean. When he jumps down now, what I do is that I pull him back here. I am the water, right? He will not follow me down here, obviously like in the wall, whatever. But I will just, you know, pull him down. Then make the fight a lot easier. What I think a lot more people do is that they fight him up here. He lands here, right? So they fight him here instead, which I would say is a much harder fight. Because he's a fast guy. So he's gonna, you know, then he's gonna avoid a lot of your attacks, right? Using the pillars. He's gonna fly. The AI basically circle around you in the pillars, right? So again, just by jumping into the water, little better than this, but you have one point. When the fight starts, he has no cover anymore, and fighting him here, right? And now it's pretty easy to fight actually, because yeah, he's a guy that relies on, you know, circling the pillars, right? Of course, this is an example of this boss, right? Other bosses is the opposite, right? If they are, how say it, if they don't use the pillar very well, then you want to move them to the pillars, right? Or chokes or whatever. So yeah, again, of course it really depends on what the boss is, right? You know, obviously. So my general advice, this is generalized, but I think it's true for most bosses, is that the fast bosses, like that boss Sula, you want to move him into the water, right? You want to move him away from the different pillars, the different obstacles, whatever. You want to move him away from that, right? Because he's a fast guy, like I said, he's going to use them, you're going to miss him, right? And he's terrible in the water, he's 10 times easier, so you can just blast him down, doesn't have much health, right? You can just, hit him. But if you are fighting the opposite, usually, like a very slow boss, you have a duel, there's a big guy, right? He instead probably, can't really hit you, right? You know what I mean? If you're fighting a very slow boss, it's easy for you to avoid his attacks, right? By going behind the pillar. So there instead, you want to move the boss to the pillar, right? So it's kind of like, of course it depends on what boss you're facing, but I think for like half the boss in the game, or maybe not half, but at least most of the like duel, like the AC versus AC, basically mecha versus mecha, not the big boss guys, those big, then you can usually move them to a better location, right? Or sometimes then make sure they stay at that location. And as a side note, of course, you can also think about that, how to rebuild, go in and like respec your mecha perhaps, right? Or change your load, right? Depending on, of course, okay, this boss has a lot of like pillars or whatever. So if I play a faster mecha, I can utilize that better, right? So a lot of times you can definitely get the boss stuck in some areas. Like for example, the helicopter. There's like an open area, okay, but there's like a little like house on the side, right? Like at the edge of one of the sides. This top building will never be destroyed. And the helicopter has this AI thing that makes it go up and down if you shoot laser at them. So what I did on accident, but then I saw that you could repeat it, right, was that if you shoot at when the boss is like flying, is here right at the edge, if you shoot the laser at him, he will jump up, right, and then he will kind of slowly fall down. But then the boss actually gets stuck on at the edge of the house, then you can just kill him. So you can also use that, right? But that's pretty typical for any game. You're like, well, if I use this weapon, the boss will jump, and then he can't, he can't land because he's gonna land on like the edge of the building, and he gets stuck there, and and then you can just easily defeat it because you can't avoid that anymore. So you can see that, but I also see it in some of the arena fights and some of the other like AC dual boss fights where they're very, very agile, right? If you push them into the corner, basically the arena has a clear corner, right? Same thing for dual boss fights, but very clear in the arena. There's gonna be like an invincible corner, somewhere in the arena fight, right? Because you can't really see. If you put the boss in there, and they're very quick and agile, they're gonna do this thing into the walls all the time. Basically, they're going into the corner, right? My canvas corner there, and they're gonna do this thing in the corner, and they won't actually get away from you in the corner. And then you can kind of defeat them easily. So there are some classic like abuse strategies. Maybe not the best hit, but I think it's pretty funny because there are some classic, shenanigans you can do, right? Talk about more of the general stuff for this game, right? How to build or how to XP or whatever. So first of all, do the arena as soon as you can, right? So you will unlock arena, spoilers, you will unlock arena after a few hours. And I would say you should always do the arena fights before you do the main story. Same thing, you should always do the side quest, what we call it, like side missions, before you do the main story. Obviously, you get rewards, you can also replay them, and get more rewards, right? So you can also use farm and so on. And I think there are two reasons about arena here. First of all, because ships basically leads to your general build, right? Not your mecha build stuff, but actually like a leveling up or whatever, right? So they're doing the arena is basically how you level up. Doing the normal missions, how to get money, right? But you also get money in the arena as well, though, so come to that later. But generally speaking, right, arena is where you actually get the levels. So, for example, right, obsessed with melee, is an early part of the game. So I'm just like, okay, let's maximize melee, right? It's also here for that matter, where you can get better health potions, right? What you call it, repair kits, yeah. Typically, for software games, of course, you have your, you start with a few potions, right? And here's then we use ships to, improve how much health you get from using your health potion. Now, I might be wrong here. Correct me, comment below, correct me if I'm wrong. But I do think you can farm easy in arena. I think so. You obviously get way less credits, right, for doing an arena fight. But the fight is so easy. That's why I'm doing that when I'm talking, because it's, yeah, it's much easier doing a video in the arena than doing it outside, which fights are pretty easy, right? But I at least can finish the arena fight, obviously get harder the further you go. But yeah, I can finish his first arena fights and get like, you know, some money immediately, right? And yeah, like I said, this is super easy. And I haven't done like the perfect math. I haven't unlocked everything in the game perfectly, whatever, right? I wanted to play the game 2 years ago, but okay, no, I'm not silly because it's right behind me. My whole point is ruined. Now, big at my point, like even if I mistakenly played it here, I'm not playing it good, right? I'm overly for talking and trying to talk and play, yeah. Even if I'm like, you know, did a pretty terrible job here even, so I didn't even defeat this guy that quickly, right? It goes so much faster, I think, than doing the normal stage. So I would really recommend farming in arena if you want to farm money, right? To buy all the stuff and so on. It seems to be way faster. I haven't seen a single stage so far that's even remotely as fast. Obviously, you get way more money, right, for doing, you know, the general stages. So here I got, for example, 18,500. If I run a stage, I might get like 300,000, right? For 1,000, half a million, and here you get like 20,000. But the thing is that you can do like 10 of these, yeah, in like half the time. Or maybe remotely close. Like even if you know the fight in like a normal stage, it takes way longer time. I mean, obviously they're a little different, but the one that gives you a lot of money, right? The stage that gives you like a half a million or up or so, yeah, they must give you a lot of credits. They take a lot of time, I would say, where the arena ones, even the harder ones, you can do in less than a minute, right? So my last point I want to make in this video is that you shouldn't just buy stuff immediately when it... So the last point I want to make is you shouldn't just buy stuff immediately in this game. So basically what I mean is that, think about like a typical role-playing game. I'm the kind of player, right, that I don't use my potions, I save my elixirs for let's fight the enemy. But generally speaking, I'm the kind of player, when I get to a new city in like a role-playing game, like in Baldur's Gate 3 for example, I usually don't buy stuff, right? I usually wait for like the next city. Or, you know what I mean? I'm kind of that guy. Well, I don't want to buy the shield. Maybe in the next city have a better shield, you know? I'm definitely in that mindset. I think this game here is a lot like this, and it definitely helps you not to buy stuff immediately. I think it's better to usually, in this game, saving you money. Because basically it's like, let's say you beat the 4th boss, right? This unlocks a new, like, pulse rifle, which is like stronger than the one you have. But if you only play for like 30 more minutes, you're gonna get another pulse rifle. It's even better. And yes, of course, the first one might have some advantage over the second one. Like, maybe it shoots slightly faster. But mostly, I do think that the game gives you better than better stuff, right? Because that's a typical gaming curve, right? Of course, there are some exceptions, but mostly it's like, nah, you probably get something better. Just not, you know, like an hour or two later, right? In this game, instead of getting to a new city, it's more like, you know, you beat a new chapter, right? You beat a new arena fight or whatever, and you unlock like a new gear, right? Like either a new body part or a new weapon. And yeah, it doesn't seem very effective in this game to just like buy any weapon you get. You can't afford that, right? You can of course farm in the game, but generally speaking, it's like, yes, some weapons are decent, but they're clearly better versions of them coming later. But anyway, guys, that's the video. Hope you guys liked it. Of course, I'm gonna make more Armored Core, some more Baldur's Gate stuff, probably tomorrow, right? Subscribe for that, so on. But yeah, so far I like the game, right? You know, I haven't, like the next video, maybe next video, but I want to make a video, at least one video, where I talk about, you know, like it's my favorite specs or whatever. The game is easier, like I said, Sekiro, but I think it's harder than, yeah, I think it's like in the middle between Sekiro and Elden Ring. If it's more intense, I think, than Elden Ring, because it's like, it's a lot of boss fights, right? Yeah, this game is more like short stage into a boss fight. That's how it feels a lot, though. It's very mecha enough, yeah, very like typical Japanese mecha games, like a lot of boss fights. But anyways, you guys have a great day.